tribulations, living in troubled times. I was contemplating on continuing on the economy of Yahuah, but this kind of plays into it. As everybody's eyes are watching what is going on, not just in the United States, but all over the world. And we've seen things that have happened, and there have been, no rain, droughts in parts of the world, and Australia. Yeah. There have been plagues of locusts eating up crops in Africa. This is things that men don't have control of. This is the Most High. We don't know why, we don't know what, but these things, we expect these things to happen because we'll see as we get into it, but these things are happening. And then you have this viral pandemic, right? People are running around, got the military out there, got the roll of toilet paper and the mask, just kind of encapsulate everything that you see as they it seems to be fear-mongering, people spraying stuff in the air. You don't even know what they're spraying. It goes in line also with the chemtrails and things they're spraying in the air. One brother said that this is there was a possible aerosol, but we're not worried about that. We're not worried about that. I'm just saying this is what's going on right now. Right? Economy crises. All these things are happening. These are the things that we're seeing right now in these troubled times, right? And I was thinking about that. I said, now these times, it's time to inspect our armor. It's time to inspect our armor and inventory our gear, and resolve in ourselves, that our life is in Yahuwah's hands. This is the time that we start to just galvanize ourselves and make that resolve. So no matter what happens, we're not worried about what's taking place. There's no fear in us, no terror in us. So a lot of times people are asking, just like Maurice said, people are wondering, where are we in the timeline of prophecy? And I want to start here with Lamadyahu 24:1. And Yahushua went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came, the Talmudim came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Yahushua said unto him, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And he sat down, and he sat upon the Mount of Olives, and the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? Is that the question we're asking? We're all asking that. Everybody wonders that. They're pondering in their heart, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world? And that is the question everybody has on their mind, especially when times like these arise, these troubled times. All right. I say, and Yahushua answered and said unto him, take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Mashiach, and deceive many. And here we are. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. We're seeing that. We've forgotten about wars that are still going on right now. They're not even talking about them anymore. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. We see these things, like he said, as birth pains, things that are happening. It's making us realize that we're getting closer and closer. For the nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence. And that's what we're seeing. We're hearing about these earthquakes in diverse places all over the country, even America, where earthquakes were never heard of. So we know we're getting closer. And he said, all these are just the beginnings of sorrow. So just think about now and then when he was speaking this, and what the apostles and the believers went through during that time, AD 70, when they were getting persecuted, and all the things that are taking place. As there's nothing new under the sun, they had their season they had to go through. it came upon some people just very suddenly. You know, when you're not prepared, it can really shake your foundation. And they shall deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. This is where a lot of people tremble at, because we're living in a time right now where they're talking about there might be mandatory vaccinations, right? So you have to resolve in yourself, what is it going to be? Because you're looking at yourself, you're looking at, for those that are single, it's just me. But then your husbands and wives, you're looking at your family, you're looking at your children. They're talking about, you know, they've closed down the schools, right? So they're saying, hey, what if they won't let your children back into school next year because they don't have the vaccination? What if they don't give you an exemption? Some places don't have exemptions. What if they're talking about, in some places, taking away your children? We're in a moment, in a time in life that we have never seen before. We're not taking it lightly. We're being very sober about it, and we're keeping watch through the word of Elohim, knowing that he already told us these things will transpire. Now it's becoming real. It's at your front door. It's at the front door. Let's say, then shall many be offended, right? Once this thing happens, many shall be offended, and they shall betray one another and shall hate one another. This is going to test your heart, right? You talk about this test that we're taking. This is the test. This is going to test your heart. When tribulations come, it's that weed that gets chokes up, you know, grows in this ground, and the weeds come up and it starts to choke you. These are the tribulations, and you get offended at the word. You get offended at the walk. You get offended at the lifestyle. I got to think about me and my children. Just like in the history, when we were persecuted in Portugal and Spain, and they began to take the children away from the parents in Portugal and Spain, the Hebrews there, and ship them to the west coast of Africa. Sometimes the parents would just denounce the faith altogether and become Christian. They were forcibly done so, but they were thinking about their children. They weren't thinking about the Most High's statutes, laws, and commandments. They wasn't committed to them. They were more committed to their own life. This is one of those times that we got to have full resolve. It's not just reading in a book and rejoicing at home or walking safely in things. This is coming to our doorstep. We're living in this new reality. I'm not fear-mongering. I'm trying to reassure you that our Elohim is Elohim. We'll get to it. And there are going to be many false prophets that shall rise and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, because of this lawlessness, this hate for Yahuah's word shall abound, the love of many is going to wax cold. We thought that these little times that we were living in were treacherous. But we are seeing things right now that we've never seen before, that our grandparents had never seen, that our parents have never seen. You know, so we're living in a time where your faith is really about to be tested, and it's really about to be shaken. So he said, where are we in this time of prophecy? Well, here we are. This is where we are. But he that endures to the end, that's where we are in this timeline. We're at that part of endurance, the place of patience. We're to be patient in tribulations. We're not to be reactionary, because we already, as he said, have the blueprint. Not to be reactionary, we are to endure to the end. Resolve in our mind that Yahuah's word is above all else, and the same shall be saved in the end. All right. I titled this one, Awake, Remember, and Stand. And the reason why, because I want us to think back to our forefathers. He always says, hey, if you remember what they've done, it's a lesson for us to learn in it. And we are not to repeat those lessons. So we are to, when we wake up, we are to remember. We are to remember what happened, and then we are to stand. 1 Corinthians 10:1. Moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant, how that our fathers were under the cloud and passed through the sea, and were all baptized unto Moshe in the cloud and in the sea, as we crossed over the Reed Sea. I'm not going to go back and read all that, but I want to remind us of what has happened. This is what the scriptures we do. We remind each other. We encourage each other. And all did eat the same spiritual meat, and all did drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of the spiritual rock that followed them. That rock was Mashiach. But with many of them Elohim was not well pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness. And we have example of what happened in the wilderness, and what things took their eyes off the main goal, those concerns of this world, as they were going through the time of affliction, right, in the wilderness. Even though Most High is watching over them by day and by night and providing for them, we will feel like, well, he's not providing fast enough. Is he there? The brother wrote today, he said, we have to take our mind off the physical and put it on the spiritual, right? Realizing that don't worry about what you don't have, what you're going to need, or how it's going to get there. Just know it's going to be there when you need it. Now, these things were our examples, to the intent we should not lust after evil things, as they also lusted. Neither be idolaters, as were some of them. As it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. Neither let us commit fornication, as some of them committed, and fell in one day 23,000. Can you imagine that? They turned their back on the Most High, and 23,000. Who is on Yahuah's side? The question was asked. The brethren picked up their sword. There's gonna be times where you're gonna see, if you're not for Yahuah, you're not a part of the camp. You can't be a part of it. We can't have you in here doubting and wavering and not being sure. And then, the weakest link can destroy the whole chain. Yeah. Neither let us tempt Mashiach, as some of them also tempted and were destroyed of serpents. Neither murmur ye, as some of them also murmured and were destroyed of the destroyer. In these times of tribulations, we have to remember to be patient. Even if it's getting close to home, you can feel the heat on the back of your neck. It seems like your clothes are getting singed. Remember who you are and whose you are. Rely upon his word. Stand upon his word. Whatever Yahuah said, it's going to be all right. Whether you survive the situation or whether he allows you to be consumed by the situation. I'm pretty sure when James was taken before Herod, that he wasn't expecting to get his head chopped off that day. I'm pretty sure when the deacon was preaching and the crowd turned against him, and they just began to, Stephen was preaching and the crowd turned against him and they began to stone him. We have to make that resolve in our mind. For Yahuah we live, and for Yahuah we die. Now all these things happen unto them for an example, and they are written for our admonition, our warning, upon whom the ends of the world are come. We are living in some of the most treacherous times. I didn't even touch on all the transgenderism and humanism and all the things that they're trying to force and to sneak past people, sneak past us, as they're distracting us with all this other theatrics. with the news and the president and all these actors trying to get us to waver. We ought to be wise as serpents, gentle as doves. We ought to understand matters. And Yahuah has given us his ruach, his wisdom, his knowledge, his understanding. He's given us teachers. He's given us prophets. He's given us every tool that we need in order to circumvent and make it through these times. Because the ultimate thing is to make it to the kingdom. The ultimate thing is to be right with him, to know him. And not better yet, not just know him, for him to know us. Wherefore, let him that thinketh he stand take heed lest he fall. Don't think more of yourself than you ought. We're all human. Don't tempt Mashiach. Do not tempt Yahuah Elohim. Do not put yourself in a situation where you're tempting fate. I double dog dare them to touch me. They're not going to take none of mine. I belong to Yahuah, da 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 da. And then you find yourselves beheaded under the prison. Don't make yourself a target. See, there has no temptation taken us or taken you such as is common to man. This ain't the first time this has happened, and hopefully this might be the last time. I'm hoping and praying that this is the time that we go through and that the Most High, the Mashiach comes back and set this thing in order. I don't know how long, but if we stand together, if we band on his word, we remember, we will overcome. And Elohim is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that you are able, but with the temptation also makes a way of escape, that ye may be able to bear it. All right. I say, don't let the enemy get in your head. All right. Don't let the enemy get in your head. Matthew 4:2. This is Mashiach in the time of his temptation. And I wanted to bring this out because I said, don't think more highly of yourself than you ought to put yourself in a situation where you become a target and you tempt Yahuah Elohim. And this is the time when he was in the wilderness. So it says, Matthew 4:2. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward a hunger. And when the tempter came to him, he said, If thou be the Son of Elohim, command that these stones be made bread. But he answered and said, It is written, Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Elohim. He quoted Deuteronomy 8:3. And he humbled thee, and suffered thee to hunger, and fed thee with manna, which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers know, that ye might make known what man doeth not live by bread only, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Yahuah doeth man live. These are those testing times that we're going through. He allowing this to happen, testing our patience, our resolve. We've been in a bed of ease for a long time. As soon as things started getting real, everybody started getting tense. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? We're going to trust in Yahuah. That's what we're going to do. We're going to prepare ourselves. We're going to do as much as we can to stay together and not get separated from one another. And if we do, know that we're in the hands of the Most High. Stay strong in whatever situation you find yourself in. Matthew 4:5. Then the devil taketh him up to the set apart city, and set him on the pinnacle of the temple, and said unto him, If thou be the Son of Elohim, cast thyself down. For it is written, He shall give his Malachim, his angels, charge concerning thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, Least at any time you should dash your foot against a stone. And what did Yahushua say? It is written again, thou shalt not tempt Yahuah Elohim. Don't do it. Don't let the devil, the enemy, psych your head up, thinking that you have some more connection with the Most High than you have, or than any other believer has. If he gives you a dream, instruction, and he tells you to do something, you obey that. That's what we do. We obey his voice. But don't just act presumptuously and do anything. And that's this lesson we're learning here today. Don't let the enemy get in your head. Deuteronomy 6, this is where he was quoting. Deuteronomy 6:13. This is a part of the Shema. Thou shalt fear Yahuah thy Elohim, and serve him, and shalt swear by his name. Ye shall not go after other mighty ones, of the mighty ones of the people which are round about you. For Yahuah Elohim is a jealous Elohim among you, lest the anger of Yahuah thy Elohim be kindled against thee, and destroy thee from off the face of the earth. Ye shall not tempt Yahuah your Elohim, as ye tempted him in Messiah. We don't want to put ourselves in a situation where the Most High is angry with us and say, okay, since you want to do that, let's see you get yourself out of it. Don't put yourself in a situation he did not tell you to get into. Taking control of your mind. Very important part. Very important step as we're going through these troubled times in life, these tribulations. Taking control of your mind. 2 Corinthians 10:3. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through Elohim to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations, and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of Elohim, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Mashiach. We have to take control of our minds. We don't operate in fear. We don't operate in fear. That is not where we move and be. We don't live there. The only fear we have is the reverence and the awe and respect of the Most High Yah. We fear him and him only. Having in readiness to revenge all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled. Let not your heart be troubled. And this is what the Mashiach told. I just pulled a few verses out. I just wanted to talk about them. John 14:1. Let not your heart be troubled. You believe in Elohim, believe also in me. We believe in Yahuah Elohim. We believe also in Yahushua HaMashiach. This is the patience of the called out ones, that we keep the word of Yahuah Elohim and the faith of Yahushua HaMashiach. We're not troubled by what's happening. We don't let fear rule and reign over our lives. In the world we shall have tribulations, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. This is what Mashiach left instructions with his Talmudim. It speaks to us today. We will have tribulations. We're going to see troubled times. We have never seen troubled times like this before. We don't know. There are things that are uncertain. The future seems to be uncertain. But we know that where we are, Yahuwah has us no matter what. No matter what. Whatever they're doing, whatever they're plotting, whatever the scheme is, they cannot overthrow Yahuwah. And we trust in him and we rest in him. 2 Timothy 1:7. For Elohim has not given us the spirit of fear. And I say not only it's the spirit of fear, to make it more plain, the spirit of terror and anxiety. He didn't give us the spirit of terror and anxiety. He gave us the spirit of truth. He's given us power, the authority in Yahushua and his word, and of love and a sound mind. Let us always remind each other of that. For those that you talk to, I know that many of our brothers and sisters are concerned, especially the young ones. When you're young in the faith, you're constantly wondering, when is going to happen? What's going to happen? What's time? Where we at? What's going on? This is the time where we endure patiently. We just rest on the word of Yahuah. We rest in him. We don't act irrationally or foolish. Fret not. Psalms 37:1. Like I said, I'm just letting the word speak. It speaks loud and clear, and this is what's been on my heart. And I just want to encourage all those that are under the sound of my voice that hear this in the future. Don't worry. Psalms 37:1. Fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity. For they shall soon be cut down like the grass, and wither as the green herb. Trust in Yahuah, and do good, so thou shalt dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. Delight thyself also in Yahuah, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. Commit thy ways unto Yahuah, trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. And he shall bring forth thy righteousness as the light, and judgment as the noonday sun. Don't care what those devils are doing. Don't care what the plot is. We trust in Yahuah. Rest in Yahuah and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospers in the way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. Somebody might be out there plotting and scheming and seem like they're overcoming. So they seem like they had a better way. Like this one did this and he did that and he got out of it. No, we don't worry about what the evildoers are doing. We're going to do what Yahuah tells us to do. He says, cease from anger, forsake wrath, and fret not thyself in any ways to do wise. In other words, we ain't going to take revenge for ourselves. We're not going to be all upset and get all out of character because of what's going on and just and cause ourselves to fall or cause ourselves to sin. He said, be angry, right? But sin not. Don't violate Yahuwah's commandments. For the evildoer shall be cut off, but those that wait upon Yahuah shall inherit the earth. For yet a little while, and the wicked shall not be. Yea, thou shalt diligently consider his place, and it shall not be. There's going to come a time when he's taking all of that off the earth. There's going to be a time of a reaping, and he's going to remove this wickedness from the earth. He said, but the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. Again, I go back to awake, remember, and stand. We ought to remember. Every wake up, we ought to remember and turn back to Yahuah Elohim. All right, Deuteronomy 4:25, we come into a close. When thou shalt begat children, and children's children, and ye shall have remained long in the land, and shall corrupt yourselves, and make a graven image or likeness of anything, and shall do evil in the sight of Yahuah thy Elohim to provoke him to anger. I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day, that ye shall soon utterly perish off the land whereunto ye go over Jordan to possess it. Ye shall not prolong your days upon it, but shall utterly be destroyed. We have been removed from our land. This is already taken place. He said, and Yahuah shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be few, left few in number among the heathen, whither Yahuah shall lead you. And there ye shall serve mighty ones, the works of men's hands, wood and stone, which ye neither see, nor hear, nor eat, nor smell. They are not alive. But they had us worshiping these things. We've seen it down century, generation. He has waken us up. Now he's causing us to remember. He says, look what they did. Don't follow their pattern. But if from thence thou shalt seek Yahuah thy Elohim, thou shalt find him. But if from there you shall seek Yahuah thy Elohim, you shall find him. If thou seek him with all your heart and with all your soul. When thou art in tribulation, when we are in tribulation, and all these things come upon us, even in the latter days, we're in the latter days. He says, he's speaking to us from that point in time down through the generations up to this day. We're in tribulation even in the latter days. If thou turn to Yahuah thy Elohim and shall be obedient unto his voice. Listen to his voice. Don't allow the enemy to get in your head. Listen to his voice. For Yahuah thy Elohim is a merciful Elohim. He will not forsake thee nor destroy thee, nor forget the covenant of thy fathers which he sware unto them. For ask now of the days that are past, which were before thee, since the day that Elohim created man upon the earth, and ask from the one side of the Shamayim heaven unto the other, whether there had been any such thing as this great thing is, or has been heard like it. Did ever people hear the voice of Elohim speaking out of the midst of the fire, and thou hast heard and live? Or hath Elohim essayed to go and take him a nation from amidst of another nation, by temptations and signs and wonders, by war and by a mighty hand, and by a stretched out arm, and by great terrors, according to all that Yahuah your Elohim did for you in Mitzrayim, or Egypt, before your eyes? This is about to happen again. This will happen again. What do? We begin to cry out to the Most High. As the tribulation and persecution comes at us, just cry out to the Most High. It's to make us stronger. It's to press us so that we will reveal that righteousness. So when Yahuah begins to move on these nations, he's going to do just as he did then. Unto thee it was shown that thou mightest know that Yahuah, he is Elohim, and there is none else beside him. So with that, brothers and sisters, Akeem and Koti, I finish, and I just hope that you're encouraged and that you keep this to your heart. You have any questions?